Our friends, the ANC are this close to being liquidated, and they are panicking like there's no tomorrow.
So this is obviously the news, which we've already covered, around the debt that the ANC owe for election campaign posters, which they never paid for. According to Mr. Fix for Call, they didn't pay for it because they never asked for the work to be done. He says they can't be liquidated because they don't know anything. This seems rather curious, Ramon, because they've been to court like how many times? The courts have said, you definitely did ask for this. You definitely need to pay. You can't keep avoiding paying. And it now appears like Cyril himself has said, hey, Fikile, maybe we do owe something. Let me have a look at those invoices.
Indeed, that is the case. It really looks like Fikile Mbalula is the idiot we all think he actually is. So, two things today for this story. Number one, Cyril Ramaphosa himself wants to look at the documents with his own lawyers, not the ANC's lawyers, his own lawyers. And number two, ANC stalwarts have approached the creditor and said, maybe we can take on the debt of the ANC and pay it ourselves. So, which leads me to believe, Byron, that Fikile Mbalula is talking out of his arse because it's his signature on the actual invoice that created this debt in the first place. And number two, no one actually trusts Fix for Call. But why is he Secretary General then? Awkward.
That is a very good question. Why is he Secretary General? Because since he has become Secretary General, you may recall, way back when, we basically did a video. And in that video, we said, this is the best news ever, because he's so useless and inept, he will sink the ANC to an all-time low. You know, Ramon, this guy does like 3 press conferences a day, yeah? Far more than any other Secretary General in the history of the ANC. Like, the guy's always on TV. He's always on Twitter. Like, oh, I've got a new announcement. I used new toilet paper today and wasn't as soft on my bum. Like, this guy's just, he's an attention hog. But every time he opens his mouth, he doesn't sound any more intelligent. He just sounds more stupid. Now, the problem is become, in terms of this whole debacle, is that this is a debt the ANC has to pay. So another thing that's just come out in the latest news is he says, you know what, even if we do have to pay it, we do have the monies to pay it. The problem is that the sheriff went in and basically sequestered all of their bank accounts. So he knows how much is in it. And apparently, according to the latest news, there's like 56,000 in there. Nothing more. So here's the problem. Number one is either Fix for Call talked out his backside and they don't have the money, even though he claimed that they do, or the ANC have other bank accounts that they didn't declare to the sheriff, which would be a violation of a court order and would be illegal. So this guy's just fucked no matter what way you look at it. The best option to him would be just shut up.
Well, but we don't want him to do that because then, Morning Shot will cease to exist in terms of making content. But both of those things can be true. Fix for Call is retarded and the ANC has illicit money flows, right? Both of those things can be true at exactly the same time. But what is interesting is that in this letter to the creditors from the ANC stalwarts who are unnamed in this particular point, they refer to Fikile Mbalula's utterances as reckless and ignorant. It's very strange to call the Secretary General, the second highest officer in your party, reckless and ignorant. I mean, I would choose, stronger language, but, I'm not part of the ANC at all. But this debt, but this story, we've spoken about it over and over and over again. This is the straw that can break the ANC's back. They screwed over one of their own people because the creditors are ANC members, and now they are reaping what they have sown everywhere else in this particular country, and they are unwilling, unable, or too ignorant to solve it correctly. And they're supposed to run a country as well? Come on.
Yeah, so the curious part about all of this is obviously if you look at it, you have to ask yourself the question. ANC knows they've got a debt. They're skirting around paying the debt. And even when the debt is there and it's right in front of them in the form of a court order that says, pay your debt, the ANC goes, no, I won't. I won't. And what they tend to think is that, you know what, they're going to get away with it forever and ever and ever. Now, when it comes to the criminal courts, Ramon, they probably will. Because as we've seen, when it comes through to the criminal courts, which the ANC has some degree of control over, especially through the MPA, the documentation just disappears and the case collapses. But we're not talking about a criminal matter that the state's involved in. We're talking about a private matter where the private individuals have gathered the evidence, they have private lawyers who have privately prosecuted the ANC, and so the remedy is twofold. One, pay damages. If you don't pay damages, we enter into liquidation because you're unable to pay damages. It's a very basic remedy in the civil courts, mate. The ANC tends to think that the civil courts can be just as captured as the criminal courts. They tend to think what we can do is just ignore it and it will just go away. It's not going away, mate. It's not going away because this is a private entity that wants to be paid. And so that entity has come out today to say every time the ANC appeals, every time they prolong the whole kill case, their interest goes up. And they're like, we get more interest through this court case than we would if we put this in an Investec account. So this is like the best investment we've ever had because they know at the end of the day, they are being paid. And the longer the ANC prolongs this, the more they're going to have to pay, the harder it's going to hurt them. So that's rewarding to the ANC. Continue your Stalingrad strategy. It works lovely in courts. It works lovely in the criminal courts. This is a civil matter. Every day you apply the Stalingrad strategy, the bigger and the higher the damages are going to be, you're going to have more to pay. Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck to you as well. And by the way, all the tenderpreneurs who've made hundreds of billions of rands off stolen taxpayer money over the last 30 years, where are these people to show loyalty to the ANC? Let's think about it. 140 million rand debt is nothing to the trillions stolen by ANC and their cadres over the past 30 years. Yet not one person has the gall to stand up and say, I'm going to show loyalty to the ANC. I'm going to pledge this money so that the ANC can survive in the long term. Not a single tenderpreneur has come out to actually do that. If the tenderpreneur cannot support the ANC, why are you voting for them? It's pathetic. No one supports the ANC, not their president, not their secretary general, not the tenderpreneurs, not their funders, but the average uneducated rural person thinks the ANC is better than sliced bread. None of this makes sense, but it's retail Afghanistan.